talking again a lot about uncertainty. For sure, there is some uncertainty over exactly how the trade policy will work itself out, but the tax policy is almost sure to work the way people are describing it in the House and the Senate bills. The deregulation is already underway, and the drilling, baby drilling is going as well. And so there's a heck of a lot of uncertainty that's resolved. I think that in the end, the trade policy uncertainty is the one thing that people will see, and that is going to be resolved in early April, as President Trump has said. And so I think that we're pretty close to having the uncertainty behind us, and as you know, when that happens, then the economy really lifts off. And so the idea that American consumers are going to bear most of the tariff is just not economically literate, frankly. And it's got to be the only explanation for the persistent trade deficit is that we've got lots of inelastic supply. And so if we put a tariff on foreign countries, then their capital and their workers, they're going to bear a good chunk of that tariff. And I think that then what we're doing is we're changing the tax code so that we're lowering taxes on the taxes that Americans bear and increasing taxes on the taxes that foreign inelastic supply bears. And that's very bullish for America. Well, don't forget there's a huge amount of trade, almost $1 trillion of imports between Canada and Mexico. And one of the things that we talked about from the beginning and then did after we saw some progress on fentanyl is exclude the quote-unquote USMCA stuff. USMCA stuff is 50–60% of all the trade in Canada and Mexico. And to get something qualified as a USMCA good, you just have to have U.S. content. So if there's, U.S. parts that get shipped over to Mexico and then they assemble them into a car, that if you put a tariff on that, then a lot of the tariff is on U.S. parts. That doesn't make sense, and that's why the exemptions are there. And so I would expect that one of the things that's going to happen is that people are going to have lots of levers that they can pull, as the final tariffs are visible. And one of them is having more U.S. content. If you have more U.S. content, then that'll be quite helpful. What happens is if you have a big, what we call in economics, irreversible project, a thing where you nail it down and then it's not like a used car that you can sell right away, then when there's a big election, then people tend to wait until both after the election happens, which would be November, but also into March or so, where they wait to see is Congress going to be able to function. And in that time period, big irreversible investments tend to slow down. Right. In fact, in the paper that I wrote with Matt Jensen a while ago, I guess this one was with Joe Sullivan, that we found that the relative odds of recession were about double around an election year because people were holding off on the big projects. And so you could think that there's like a tariff effect on that, but really there's an election effect on that Americans have experienced over and over and over again for every election. So and the Kevin, good news is that election uncertainty usually gets resolved around March, which is about where we are right now.